Next stop, Andy.
Wait a minute. I just lit a rocket.
Rockets explode! Ah! This is the part where we blow up!
Not today.
Ah! You're flying!
This isn't flying. This is falling with style.
To infinity and beyond!
47 seconds of logos.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Backwards N, school spelled with a K. How old is Andy supposed to be in this movie again? Because unless it's 6, he should know better. Either that or he made all these box buildings as a 6-year-old and is still playing with them years later, which is just sad.
Andy at this point in the film is 7 and is turning 8, and asking an 8-year-old to be perfect at spelling when he might just be slightly dyslexic is kind of a dick move, especially coming from a 40-year-old dude that doesn't know what a Deus Ex Machina is.
I brought my attack dog with a built-in force field. Well, I brought my dinosaur who eats force field dogs.
Children's imaginations.
I don't know, a force field dog versus a T-Rex sounds kind of badass if you ask me.
Computer animation baby collects another soul if you look it directly in the eyes.
Everything wrong with Toy Story, ladies and gentlemen. A bunch of bullshit.
This household has a Super Nintendo system, but apparently no games to play with it.
How could you tell from just this shot, though? The games could be organized elsewhere, like a proper gamer would do. Also, Jeremy had a Somalian Super Nintendo, because this shit doesn't look like any Super Nintendo I know about.
Hey! Look at me. Look at me. I am the captain now.
Also, Andy has a Super Nintendo, but would still rather play with Woody dolls. Probably because of the lack of games, I'm guessing.
Hey man, in 1995, I had an Urkel doll that I liked much more than my Super Nintendo, and I had all the games. Just saying, those of us who were born in the 80s actually physically played with things. No, not those things.
Pull my string. The birthday party's today?
With the sheer number of toys strewn around this house and Woody's apparent wealth of logic and street smarts, there is no way he would get the date of the birthday party wrong.
Why not, though? Human beings are the most intelligent organisms on the planet, and they forget things constantly. You mean to tell me that it's impossible for a sentient doll that is capable of thoughts and feelings to forget something? You smoking them herbs, Jeremy?
Stay off the weed!
Overly dexterous plastic pig not only tosses coin in the air without opposable thumbs, but also lands it perfectly straight up so it goes into his piggy bank slot.
In a universe with sentient toys that can speak without vocal cords and internal organs, that is what is unbelievable to you?
Stay off the damn weed!
I'm Picasso.
I don't get it.
You uncultured swine.
How did Mr. Potato Head even know Picasso's work to make the joke in the first place?
Okay, you just said that Woody was apparently street smart, insinuating that at least some of these toys are intelligent. Your ability to contradict yourself only moments apart is
Weed!
Sorry, John Lasseter, no one is reading a supposed 200-page book concerning your 1988 Oscar-winning short Tin Toy. Nice try, animators.
maybe the toys have, perhaps explaining their intelligence.
Take a look at all those presents.
I can't see a thing.
What if Andy were to walk in the bedroom right now, huh? Do you people have any idea the emotional scarring you'd cause if he saw all this? Woody doesn't order the soldiers out to do recon for another 45 seconds or so they literally have no way to know if Andy's approaching, but they're still way out of position.
Does any of this matter, though? It never happened, so you can't give the movie a sin for something that never materializes.
None of the neighbors see this stuff. Am I the only person in America who spies on his neighbors?
Jeremy spies on his neighbors.
Wait, his totally solid plastic binoculars actually work?
Yes? Remember, these things can speak, and they don't have vocal cords or lungs. Stop being weirded out by the internal logic of the film. Suspend your disbelief, goddammit. You've already been doing it for the sentient toys.
Buzz Lightyear to Star Command. Come in, Star Command.
Do all toys start out thinking they're real, or is Buzz unique in that regard? Did all the other toys have a similar coming to grips with it experience?
The second film confirms that only the Buzz Lightyear toys believe they are actual Space Rangers. You made this video in 2014, so there's no way you haven't seen Toy Story 2, a film that came out in 1999. Jeremy feigns ignorance cliché.
I found my moving buddy.
What a whore.
Slut shaming.
Buzz is in the typical I'm a toy pose here, but how did a deluded toy such as himself ever learn to do this? How did he know not to say anything to humans when he really thought for a fact that he was a space ranger?
Yep, that's an actual plot hole. I would remove a sin if it weren't for the fact that you just ruined my childhood.
This is a hilarious moment when Buzz thinks he's gonna die, but you're telling me this is the first time since his arrival that his helmet has come off? Andy has had enough time to change his posters and linens and ditch Woody for a new favorite toy, but he hasn't pressed all the buttons yet?
To be fair, the button to remove Buzz's helmet isn't exactly conspicuous, so it makes sense that he may not have removed Buzz's helmet while playing with him. Also, due to that plot hole we discussed earlier, Buzz apparently blacks out when he's in toy form, so even if the helmet came off, he obviously hasn't noticed it.
Hey, Mom, be right down.
This is why this toys come to life while humans are gone thing would never work. They got bailed out here only because Andy yelled down to his mom.
If the toys heard Andy yell out to his mother, then they most likely hear his footsteps whenever he's approaching his room. This would be even easier if the door was open.
I'm assuming they're going to Pizza Planet at a decent hour, but they go to a filling station that is practically deserted and a surrounding town that looks totally deserted.
Pointing things out on the screen cliché.
You are a toy!
Woody and Buzz argue loudly so that any truck driver could hear. Luckily, no one does.
So wait, this entire video is going to be Jeremy complaining about the humans not noticing the toys doing things?
Monstrous stack of pizzas allows Buzz the perfect cover.
Pointing pizzas out on the screen cliché.
Also burgers.
Pointing burgers out on the screen cliché.
Sid just happens to be at the Pizza Planet because evil always lurks at pizza-themed restaurants.
Or, this arcade is one of the few places kids like to hang out considering the town is apparently deserted, as you mentioned earlier.
I go on to a better place.
Sid puts 1 quarter in and gets a prize on the first pull.
So doing things on the first try is a sin and not a win? Sinning Lego Batman.
Here's where Buzz finally learns that he's just a toy, but one thing is off about this. It's this room. The adult sleeping in the recliner is obviously into hunting, with the duck wallpaper and the deer head mounted on the wall. There are cans strewn about that say cola and root beer, but we should take these to suggest alcohol, not soft drinks. There's a wrench used to turn on the power of the TV, and a coat hanger used as an antenna. A forlorn guitar propped up against it. It's a poor family, possibly a failed musician. What program is this down in the dumps adult watching where a Buzz Lightyear commercial targeted at kids would be playing?
Literally almost any TV show. You said all that bullshit like it had anything to do with your point. Considering this video is barely 10 minutes, you bad in the runtime, bro?
Catch this!
That would be an impossible throw for a human to make. Even Dude Perfect would need like 20 or 30 takes.
If it's impossible for a human to make, how would Dude Perfect even be able to do it after the 20 or 30 takes? You just said it's impossible.
Can you fall asleep and stay asleep while still holding something like this hat? Wouldn't it drop to the floor the moment you started to drip off?
Not necessarily. I wake up with my phone still tightly held in my hand all the time, and if you don't accept personal anecdotes, here's a clip of a man fully asleep but still holding his phone to his face.
I'm okay with talking sentient toys in a movie. I really am. But I'm not okay with talking sentient toys that can run fast enough to catch up to a truck moving at even the slowest speed.
I really don't understand this sin. Are you suggesting that simply because they are small, they cannot possibly run fast? Have you ever tried chasing a mouse? Or a cat? Besides, toys aren't limited by internal organs and muscles like we are, so if the film is suggesting that they can run fast enough to catch up to this truck, then they can.
Toys' plastic fingers have a stronger grip than a dog's jaws. In other words, Woody is puppy chow.
Again, you're applying organic being logic to toys in a children's fantasy film. Plastics can be incredibly strong and durable anyway.
Well, thank goodness for that conveniently timed and extremely long red light.
Jeremy has never been to Las Vegas.
Also, RC is a talking sentient toy like the rest of them. There are times in this movie where he freely moves of his own will, so how does this work? Does the remote control supersede RC's own will as a thinking toy?
Yes, that's exactly right. You see why asking a question doesn't count as a sin? Because answers.
This guy in the blue car must be flipping out, seeing a remote control car driving 2 other toys toward a moving van with a bunch of other toys cheering them in the back.
As you can clearly see, Bo Peep is using binoculars to even see RC, so that means the truck is far enough ahead of the car that the driver of the car cannot possibly see what amounts to 7-inch tall at best action figures.
Ah, Disney. Didn't we get enough of that song the year before this came out?
Hell no. And I'm looking forward to singing this in theater with all the kids for the live-action remake. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The rocket! The match!
Wow, that match never fell out during all that. Hell, I'm kind of surprised the rocket didn't fall off, but the match?
See, you almost had a good point there, but you went and ducked it up by telling us that you're surprised the taped to his body rocket didn't fall off.
What?
Jeremy has never heard of Strike Anywhere matches.
This is where I stop and ask you to ponder one thing. If Sid had never tortured Woody, then Woody and Buzz would never be able to put this plan together and be returned to Andy, which means the movie's sort of saying torture is a necessary evil, and I'm okay with that. And I am not okay with that.
But this doesn't really have anything to do with that. Buzz's helmet still would have burned Woody's hand here, and if Woody is as smart as you said he is, then he definitely would have put 2 and 2 together.
The street was dead empty for like forever just a second ago.
And this scene is showing them catching up to and passing all the cars that passed them earlier.
Hey, wow!
Andy asks no questions why the 2 toys he was looking for suddenly show up in a box right next to him.
Hey, Jeremy, he's 8 fucking years old.
One-third of the planet subscribes to us.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Oh, yeah!